Ambassador Zethkari adjusted his crystalline breathing apparatus as the primitive human transport vehicle, they called it a helicopter, descended toward the designated landing coordinates. Through the scratched viewport, Earth's surface appeared disappointingly barren. Sparse vegetation dotted the landscape, and the few structures visible seemed crude, constructed from basic metals and stone. Counselor, his aide Veltara, spoke through their neural link. The energy readings from this world remain remarkably low. Perhaps we should reconsider the trade negotiations. Zethkari's mandibles clicked in agreement. The Galactic Consortium had detected unusual quantum signatures from this backwater world 6 months ago. But what they'd found upon arrival was a technologically backward civilization, barely capable of atmospheric flight. Their cities produced minimal energy output. Their manufacturing seemed rudimentary, and their people appeared to struggle with basic resource management. The helicopter touched down with jarring mechanical vibrations that made Zethkari's exoskeleton ache. A small group of humans approached. Their leader, a female named Dr. Sarah Chen, had been their primary contact. She wore simple clothing and carried primitive communication devices. "Welcome back, Ambassador," Dr. Chen said, her translator rendering her words into acceptable consortium standard. "Are you ready for the facility tour you requested?" Zethkari had initially declined such tours, assuming there was little of value to see. However, curiosity about those persistent quantum readings had eventually won out. Perhaps these humans had stumbled upon some ancient technology they didn't understand. "Lead the way, Dr. Chen," he replied, his vocal synthesizer adding the appropriate diplomatic courtesy modulations. They walked across the barren field toward what appeared to be a simple maintenance shed. Zethkari noted the complete absence of defensive systems, energy shields, or even basic perimeter monitoring. These humans seemed almost childishly naive about security. Dr. Chen placed her hand on a seemingly ordinary scanner beside the shed door. The device beeped and she smiled. Biometric security. Old school but effective. The door opened to reveal an elevator. As they descended, Zethkari's internal chronometer registered a drop of nearly 2 kilometers before the elevator finally stopped. The doors opened. Zethkari's breathing apparatus nearly failed. Before them stretched a vast underground complex that seemed to extend beyond the horizon. Gleaming corridors wide enough to accommodate starships branched in every direction. The walls hummed with energy signatures that made his sensors scream warnings about dangerous power levels. "Welcome," Dr. Chen said, her smile widening, "to Sub-Level 1 of the Terra Defense Initiative." They boarded a transport tram that accelerated smoothly to speeds that would have been impressive even on consortium worlds. As they traveled, Zethkari saw glimpses through transparent aluminum windows. Massive production facilities where humans in environmental suits assembled technology he couldn't begin to identify. Laboratories where particle accelerators created miniature stars. Docking bays containing sleek vessels that bore no resemblance to the primitive aircraft he'd observed on the surface. "Your quantum signatures," Veltara managed to whisper. "We detected them from orbit." "Ah, yes," Dr. Chen nodded. "Those would be from our fusion reactors. We have about 1,200 of them operating at various depths." "This is just the civilian research level." "Civilian?" Zethkari croaked. The tram descended further. At Sub-Level 7, they passed through what Dr. Chen casually mentioned was their standard defensive perimeter. Energy barriers that registered as powerful as those protecting consortium core worlds. At Sub-Level 12, they glimpsed manufacturing bays where humans were constructing vessels that dwarfed anything in the consortium fleet. "The thing is," Dr. Chen explained conversationally as they descended to Sub-Level 18, "humans have always been naturally paranoid. When we first detected your ships at the edge of our system, our immediate reaction wasn't to celebrate contact with alien life. It was to ask ourselves, what if they're hostile?" They passed a viewport showing a hangar containing hundreds of sleek fighters, each one bristling with weapon systems that made Zethkari's combat implants register threat levels beyond their maximum parameters. "So we kept quiet, made our surface installations look as primitive as possible, and got to work," Dr. Chen continued. "Amazing what humans can accomplish when they're terrified and working in secret. We've had 6 months to prepare." Sub-Level 25 contained the command center, a space so vast it seemed to have its own weather systems. Holographic displays showed not just Earth's solar system, but detailed intelligence on consortium fleet positions, technology assessments, and what appeared to be complete cultural profiles of 17 different consortium species. "We've been listening to your communications, of course," Dr. Chen mentioned offhandedly. "Your translation protocols aren't particularly sophisticated. We learned quite a bit about your civilization." Admiral Sarah Johnson approached. Zethkari realized he'd been misled about Dr. Chen's actual position in their hierarchy. "Ambassador, I hope you're impressed. We've prepared for several contingencies. Our favorite scenario is peaceful trade and cultural exchange, which is why we've been so hospitable." She gestured to a massive display showing orbital positions around Earth. What Zethkari had taken for natural satellites and space debris resolved into the tactical positions of hundreds of defensive platforms. "But we prepared for less optimistic scenarios as well," Admiral Johnson continued. "Humanity's first rule: hope for the best, prepare for the worst." The tram reached sub-level 30, the deepest they would go, Dr. Chen explained as the lower levels were classified. Through the final viewport, Zethkari glimpsed vast underground cities where millions of humans lived and worked in complete isolation from the surface, their entire civilization a carefully constructed deception. "So, Ambassador," Dr. Chen said as they began the journey back to the surface, "we're genuinely excited about the possibility of joining the Galactic Consortium. We have so much to offer and so much to learn. We hope you'll recommend us for membership." Zethkari stared out at the passing wonders, his mind reeling. The consortium had protocols for first contact with primitive worlds, and procedures for negotiating with advanced civilizations. But they had no guidelines for a species that deliberately appeared primitive, while secretly achieving technology that rivaled or exceeded their own. As the elevator carried them back toward the surface, back toward the carefully maintained illusion of humanity's poverty and weakness, Zethkari realized he would need to completely rewrite his first contact report. The humans hadn't just been building underground. They'd been building a future where they held all the cards while their opponents never even realized a game was being played. And despite himself, Zethkari found he was genuinely impressed.